Where do we get current legally binding data that states how much we can do as nurses? Example, let's see here, medications without working under a doctor. You need to work under a doctor, I believe, if you are doing IV hydration or the Botox fillers, the aesthetic stuff. I believe you have to have a medical director over top of you there. Those are the only two areas that I have heard of that you have to have a medical director working over you. You're not going to get a lot of permission, and when you say data, I think of permission. From your boards of nursing about businesses, because the boards of nursing were not developed to give permission for business development. That is not their wheelhouse. They are, the boards of nursing are there to make sure that the public is safe from harm, and they establish all of those bylaws within the board of nursing structures and such. Business development is outside of that. That has nothing to do with your boards of nursing. What you have to do is practice, within your scope of practice, which teaching about medications is within your scope of practice. So think like that. Don't think like, oh, I'm a nurse and I work in a hospital and therefore I'm allowed to teach on medication because I work under the safeguard of the hospital system umbrella. Think beyond that. You know meds, and you're a nurse, and you're educated in that, and you know how to articulate and communicate medication information and education to people. So you're not going to get the permission from anybody saying, yes, you can do that. Absolutely. It just doesn't exist out here in business world. Once you leave the hospital, you start to look at things so differently, because it's mind blowing how we've been controlled to believe that we are not allowed to do anything without the hospital's permission or the boards of nursing permission. And I can tell you that the boards of nursing love nurse-owned businesses. They're very supportive of it. They're not, going to come and put you out of business just because they don't like your business idea or anything like that. The only thing that they would really do is if you were doing something that was beyond your scope of practice, like writing scripts or treating, diagnosing things that, you can't be doing. Those types of things, those are beyond the scope of practice of an RN. That's what gets people in trouble. But, think of the nurses who have concierge nursing businesses and all that goes into that. There's a lot of those businesses out here. And obviously teaching about medications is part of that, system in that business. Think about health coaches, nursing coaches, just all the different things that nurses are doing out here independently as business owners. You just get to a place independently where you can't get permission for every single thing you're going to do in your business. No one's going to give it to you. So you got to get to a place where you're either going to be like, okay, I am not going to get permission, so I'll just ask for forgiveness if anything should happen. You're going to have business liability insurance. So I think the biggest thing that nurses fear is that we're going to kill somebody. And you just have to get past that. I'm a foot care nurse, and I felt the same way when I started it. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I kill somebody? And then a couple years into it, you're like, okay, that was silly to even think like that. Because the odds of doing something that traumatic to somebody, and causing a life is so minuscule on the grand scale of things that it's just ridiculous to even think that way. But that's how we're trained to think in the hospital system. And they put the fear of everything into us, the fear of the board, which they're very nice people. They love businesses and such. The fear of losing your license. It doesn't work like that out here. I've met the board and I know how they work and what they think and what they want to know about, but it's not at all like what we've been taught. So it's kind of interesting once you leave and you look back down the road and you see all the things you believed and you're like, it's not the way it was at all, was it? So anyway, good luck. Let me know if that helps.